protagonist reflects on his life, once hoping for a normal and peaceful fate with his sister, but his paths were changed by the blood of a dragon. The dragon's blood flies right into his face. He looks at it anxiously and fearfully, hoping it won't get in his eyes. Then we see the beast summoners who have infiltrated his world. The various magical creatures, from demons to beast-like warriors, are clearly a major threat. The Azure Dragon Academy appears on the scene, giving the hero a chance to change his destiny and fight for great opportunities despite all the danger that surrounds him. A cute dog looks at us with glittering eyes and tongue out, as if bringing some light and joy to the harsh reality. The protagonist realizes that life is far from being simple. One of his opponents, with eyes that glow with magic, claims that no one will just give up, showing strength and determination. Despite the difficulties, our hero decides to fight for his future. He holds a sphere around which images of powerful beings, dragons and phoenixes, form. The hero experiences the bullying of his enemies, the betrayals of his friends, and the scorn of those around him. All these are the trials he has to endure. Despite all the difficulties, the hero firmly decides to shatter the illusions of his enemies and prove his strength. The hero prepares to use his spiritual power. His face reflects determination and readiness for battle. He is determined that once and for all he will rise to the top. 1,000 years ago, magical beasts were ruled by a powerful clan of dragons. On the throne sits a demon, surrounded by his subordinates. This is the demon god, the one who stands above all other creatures and symbolizes unprecedented power and cruelty. The demon god had exorbitant ambition and wreaked havoc everywhere. Behind the demon god are his army and subordinates, ready to fight for their lord. Creatures of various kinds, from demons to beasts. The humans watch in horror as an army of magical beasts invade and take over the world. Their expressions show fear and utter despair at the impending danger. The demon god knows no limit in his greed and seeks to plunge the entire world into endless darkness. His face is filled with a sinister smile, and in his hands he holds an orb symbolizing the planet. Humanity, faced with the threat of doom, reveals its full potential. Warriors of different styles and with different abilities fight to defend their land and stop the invasion. At the dawn of the awakening of spiritual power, a select few people gained the ability to control magical beasts, making them an important force in confronting the darkness. These people became known as powerful beast men, able to resist dragons and other dark forces that threatened to destroy their world. Beast masters are powerful warriors who can control magical beasts. For example, this girl has a huge toothy lion with a purple mane. The battle is in full swing. The magical dragon emits a powerful cry. Magic flashes around it, creating a tense atmosphere of battle. A report comes in that a magical beast has been shot down over the northern area of Qingfeng City. The dragon falls, surrounded by a powerful magical attack. A new report comes in. A magical beast has fallen into a residential area and urgent help is needed. The main character, Xiao Xinyu, from the 3rd grade of Xianan High School, also receives the report. His face expresses alarm, clearly realizing that something really dangerous is happening. Amidst the destruction and blood, a mighty dragon appears, and the protagonist is next to it, knocked down. The dragon's blood splatters and lands on Xiao Xinyu's face. His face is full of fright and surprise, clearly not expecting this development. Xiao Xinyu sees the dragon's blood wash over him, and sparks and flames fly around him. He stands there not knowing what to do next, a mixture of determination and fear on his face. He recalls the beginning of the disaster, how he made a pact, sealing it with his blood and summoning spirits from the void to gain powers. The hero's last words sound like an incantation. "Let my blood be the payment and my words the bond. Hear my command." The fire lion is released, surrounded by purple flames. It attacks, emitting a powerful wave of magic. It is confirmed that the magical beast is dead. It falls, enveloped in a bright purple light, clearly unable to withstand the force of the attack. The protagonist sits among the ruins, covering his face with his hands. There is fire and shattered rocks all around. There are reports that there are survivors. The protagonist is relieved to realize that no one was hurt, or rather he is informed about it. The scene shows Su Ruyan, the principal of the Azure Dragon Academy, next to a huge lion. She apologizes for the inconvenience. Su Ruyan confidently says that they will make up for the damage to the protagonist's house and hands him an invitation to the Azure Dragon Academy. The protagonist stands amidst the destruction, holding the invitation in his hands in surprise, while 2 people on a winged beast bid him farewell, saying, "See you later, young man." Su Ruyan riding his lion. The protagonist realizes that the beastmen are in front of him. Xiao dreams of becoming one of them like many in this world, but he doesn't even have the money to buy a beast, which means he can't take the initial Beastmaster exam. His dog walks up to him and something catches his eye, perhaps an invitation to the academy. The dog looks pleased, happily spilling out his emotions. His gaze is sincere and full of energy. The dog licks Xiao, who is not thrilled with this kind of attention. He is clearly stunned, trying to react to such a display of affection. The protagonist holds the dog in his arms, standing amidst the destruction, and wonders if he's been following him all this time. He wonders if it can be tamed. The protagonist recalls that the textbooks mentioned a similar creature, a storm dog with a rather weak bloodline. The dog doesn't require much spiritual power, and the protagonist hopes he can feed it. Joyfully, he declares that now he has a beast, he can become a beastmaster. Xiao Xinyu reflects that the national exam is only 3 days away, and he will hardly have time to prepare. He lifts the dog up, addressing it, and is about to start practicing. Xiao Xinyu heads into the city, to the Beastmaster store, his thoughts filled with doubts about whether he will be able to take care of his new pet. The protagonist stands in front of the fur trapper's store and contemplates whether to keep the dog or find someone who can take care of him. Xiao Xinyu realizes that the dog has no future with him, because in one night he ate the entire week's supply of food. The guy stands outside the store and meets his owner, who aggressively inquires what he is doing at the door at such an early hour. The protagonist, holding a dog, offers the owner to buy this beast, but the dog starts barking. The shopkeeper abruptly rejects the offer, pointing out that this beast, Storm Dog, has a low pedigree and cannot evolve, and therefore no one would want to buy it. He then rudely tells the hero to leave and not interfere with his work. The hero calmly replies that if the owner doesn't want the dog, he doesn't have to yell like that. At this point, the hero's gaze changes. Something unexpected catches his attention. The dog in his hands is suddenly surrounded by a mystical light, and a system window appears before his eyes, informing him that Storm Dog has a hidden path of evolution. The hero is confused and asks himself what is going on. The system confirms the hidden evolutionary path of the dog, including several stages, from Hellstorm to Doomsday Wolf. The hero repeats in surprise, "Hidden evolutionary path?" Meanwhile, the store owner ironically asks what other hidden evolutionary path the Storm Dog might have, and demands the hero get out, saying that there is no hidden path the beast has. Xiao and his dog notice the appearance of the system window and, surprised, realize that he's the only one who sees it. Su Jie mocks him, reminding him that he didn't pass his exams because he didn't have a beast. He notices the puppy and mockingly asks if the guy couldn't raise any money. The guy grudgingly replies that Su Jie should mind his own business, but the guy continues to taunt, calling his beast Storm Dog and laughing. Su Jie argues that Lin was right and the guy isn't going to take the Beastmaster exams. He adds that even if the guy wanted to, he wouldn't be able to do it. After that, he laughs, clearly mocking. The guy is surprised at the mention of Lin, and Su Jie continues, explaining that his ex-girlfriend, Jiang Lin, is now dating him. Jiang Lin shows up and asks where Su Jie disappeared to. She says she's been looking for him for a long time. Su Jie replies that he met an old acquaintance of hers and decided to greet her. The girl awkwardly says her ex-boyfriend's name, telling Su Jie that she broke up with him a long time ago. Xiao engages in a dialogue with Lin, expressing his anger for her betrayal and how she dumped him, and indeed, he's the one who dumped her. Xiao then walks away from the angry couple along with the dog. Meanwhile, Su Jie and Lin shout insults towards the guy. The guy examines his pet's information through the system and decides that the Storm Dog isn't that bad despite its low stats. He is determined to fight the upcoming trials. 3 days pass and the National Beastmaster exam begins. The area fills up with candidates and the test begins. People are surprised that the guy, despite not having a beast, still decided to participate. Considering that Azure Dragon Academy is the best, they didn't understand how a loser like Xiao Xinyu entered here. But from the look on the guy's face, one could see that he wouldn't give up on his dream. He turned to the teacher to inform him that he had come to take the exam. It was teacher Chen Qianyang and N was in the admissions office of Qinglong Academy. He required the name of the candidate. He introduced himself and said that he had come to take the Beast Tamer exam. Xiao Xinyu, as it turned out, was the only student from Chifeng County who had applied to their academy. Once again, this guy appeared in Xiao Xinyu's path and reported that he was very brave since he had decided to apply for the exam. He said that in the past 5 years, only 8 students had applied from his neighborhood. And as it turned out, none of them had passed this exam. This guy clearly couldn't believe that Xiao Xinyu would be able to squeeze through this exam. But if he could still pass it, the rich son would be willing to kneel down and call him daddy. Xiao Xinyu ordered him to clear his path and be ready to fulfill his declaration. This infuriated the rich boy very much. But regardless, Xiao Xinyu approached the teacher and informed him that he was ready to start the test. But before he started, the teacher decided to warn him about something. The Qinglong Academy entrance exam would be very difficult, and if he suddenly failed it, he would never have the chance to apply to any of the existing academies again. Xiao Xinyu was well aware of the consequences of losing, and despite that, he was ready to start the exam. The first test was the spiritual power test, and upon touching the magic ball, Xiao Sinyu's spiritual strength amounted to 316. This guy once again made Xiao Sinyu look like a laughingstock. He was certain that he wasn't even worth the minimum of the academy. The teacher seemed to be disappointed, for he had clearly thought that Xiao Sinyu would be an excellent and confident expert. Through this, he invited the next student to take the test. But suddenly, someone noticed that Xiao Sinyu's spiritual power began to change drastically. It was already at the 621st level, and just a second later, his spirituality exceeded the number 711. This was inexplicable, and the people present thought that the spirit power meter was broken. And after a moment, the counting stopped. Xiao Sinyu's spirituality level number had reached 1028. The teacher was completely shocked by what was happening. This really infuriated everyone present because no one could believe that Xiao Sinyu was actually capable of doing anything. A student's spirit power determined how many beasts a beast tamer could imprison. Every 100 points was equal to one beast, and the number 1028 points meant that Xiao Sinyu had great potential and he could become a 10-star beast taming master. Teacher was completely shocked by what he saw. He knew very well that he was now dealing with a future 10-star beast taming master. It was very rare to actually see him. In the past few decades, there were very few of them in the dragon realm. Therefore, they should definitely cherish such potential. It looked like the Dragon Kingdom had found its next master and genius. Xiao Sinyu's spiritual strength is 1,028 points. Last year, there was a girl named Inxian and her spiritual strength was 1,030 points, and what a surprise it was that Xiao Sinyu would be able to reach such a level. His ex-girlfriend and her chosen one were furious, but they knew that this was far from the end. There is another test, and it lies in the student's bloodline. In their opinion, he would definitely not be able to pass it. Mr. Chun prepared to announce the start of the second test, but suddenly one of the students stopped him. It seems there was a minor error with the measurement of his spirituality power. This student's real score is 1,032 points. Xiao Sinyu's score actually exceeded that of last year's candidate. This became a big problem, and the teacher asked his assistant to keep this malfunction a secret and not tell anyone. He had no choice, and the assistant had to keep silent about it. The teacher announced the beginning of the next test. It consisted of manifesting Xiao Sinyu's beast bloodline. He asked Xiao Sinyu to summon his beast, and he fulfilled the teacher's command with burning eyes. Finally, it was Black Fong's turn. A moment later, the beast's strong paws descended to the ground right in front of the teacher. Xiao Sinyu summoned his beast. It was a very fairy-like moment. Everyone around them held their breath and eagerly waited for further developments. A moment later, the puppy appeared and sprawled like a child on the ground. He was very cute and helpless. The people in the crowd knew very well that this beast had a low pedigree. They began to take great offense at Xiao Sinyu's choice because none of them would ever take him as their beast. The teacher explained that besides the bloodline of the beast, the quality of its red liquid also meant a lot, because this factor could limit an animal tamer in the future. The teacher was very sad to realize that Xiao Sinyu's beast had low-quality red liquid. He was very sorry, but he had to inform Xiao Sinyu that he was unable to pass the second trial because of his beast. Suddenly, someone from the crowd paid attention to what was going on. They seemed to have seen something interesting that made them dare to interrupt the teacher's speech. And as suddenly from a cute puppy sharply grew a powerful beast, all present were in complete shock from what they saw. And after such a thing, he definitely stopped looking like a Galehound, because at the very least, they didn't have any evolution. Pointing his sensor at the beast, a system panel popped up in front of the teacher. It contained all the information about the animal, and seeing that it had the second level of evolution, the teacher was completely confused. He couldn't believe his eyes that this was actually happening at the moment. Looking at Xiaosanyu, he actually realized that this guy was really something special. The teacher announced the results of the exam, and it went well. Xiao Sanyu was accepted into Qinglong Academy. The couple couldn't believe that Xiao Sanyu had actually managed to pass the exam and get into the academy. And feeling humiliated, they decided to leave the place. Suddenly, they were suddenly called out by Xiao Sanyu. He decided to remind the rich kid that he was obligated to say goodbye to his daddy. This really pissed him off. He clearly had no intention of honoring his earlier word. He didn't care at all about what he had promised earlier because he clearly wasn't used to being humiliated. This made Xiao Sinyu very angry, and he called out to his beast with a vicious look. The kid was very scared and didn't know what to expect from Xiao Sinyu in the future. This beast's strength was very powerful. It was easily able to tip the kid to the ground and crush him with its strong paw. The guy was simply furious at what was happening. There was nothing left for him but to fulfill his earlier words. And through his teeth he said, "Daddy." Xiao Sinyu turned around and said that he didn't have a son like this freak, while ordering him to immediately disappear from here. Lena suddenly changed her mind and ran to him and told him that she wanted them to be together because she felt that her feelings for Xiao Sinyu had changed a lot. She was sure that he would be happy to give her a chance. But luckily that didn't happen, and with his head held high, Xiao Xinyu let her know that he clearly wasn't going to go back in time, especially not with a lowly girl like her. She fell to her knees and started begging him for forgiveness. But he didn't care about her, and all she had to do was stare at the man walking away. He pulled out his phone to tell his sister the good news about his enrollment in Qinglong Academy. She picked up the phone and he greeted her. He was preparing to tell her the great news, and suddenly the connection cut off, and he couldn't hear anything on the other end of the phone. The good news seemed to have to wait, but he didn't understand why it had happened at all. The events had moved right to the outskirts of Chifeng City, closer to the farmer's market. It was some kind of chaos. Someone from the crowd reported that a very huge number of monsters had invaded their land, and one should run away from there as soon as possible. One woman shouting from the crowd couldn't find her small child in the midst of it all. And after a moment, the child was in the arms of that screaming mother. She hugged her very tightly and hid her in her tender arms, but the baby was very frightened. Suddenly a huge shadow appeared right above them. The girl was very much afraid for her life and for the life of her little daughter. She didn't know what to do next. It was a very huge monster, and it seems that they were waiting for a very sad end because she could not find any way out of the situation. Xiao Xini was confused. He couldn't understand what had happened at all. It was just chaos all around. People were very scared and screaming for help. But what worried him at the moment was the whereabouts of his sister. He was very worried about her and did not know how he would be able to find her in this epicenter of events. And turning around, he saw a huge monster that was about to attack a woman with a child. It turned out to be his sister, and quickly reacting, he and his beast rushed to their aid. Red liquid started pouring from his eyes again, and he couldn't understand why this was happening to him again. The system panel abruptly appeared in front of him and showed the available skills of his beast. He had to make a decision whether to use them or not. He immediately started to click on the button to use all the available skills because his sister's future depended on it. But for some reason, the system blocked him from using the skills, or they just didn't work. He was furious and couldn't understand why this was happening. The demonic beast was already almost at its target. It only had a few centimeters left for it to destroy them. They were very scared. They clearly didn't want this kind of end to their lives. Qinglong Academy had been renamed Blue Dragon Academy. Xiao Xinyu was very scared, and he didn't understand why this was happening to him. Suddenly, he remembered that the people from the Blue Dragon Academy had recited some kind of spell last time. He had no choice but to try this chance too. At the beginning of the chaos before heaven and earth are divided, he clones his red liquid and summons spirits from the void. And it seems a miracle happened and he succeeded. The beast's body began to reincarnate into a strong and powerful one. Xiao Xinyu swore by his red liquid and was able to perform this spell. He ordered the beast to listen only to his commands, and the first command sounded, "Go. It's time to save them." The beast moved straight towards the huge demon. It was going to have to fight in a battle with the monster for the lives of each of them. A moment later, the monster immobilized on the ground, and it had no signs of life left. Did Xiao Xini really manage to defeat this terrifying demon? He was shocked at the real strength of the beast-taming master. He realized that his sister was still near the monster's body, so as soon as possible, he rushed to help them. He ran up to them to make sure they were all right. They were both happy to finally see each other. The sister was completely shocked at what her brother had done. Xiao Xinyu finally took a moment to tell his sister the good news. On this day, he had passed the Azure Dragon Academy exam, and now he could control beasts just like the other students. As a small beast suddenly jumped right into Xiao Xinyu's arms, his sister was completely shocked by what she saw, and accepting it into his embrace, he introduced his beast to his sister. Specifically now, the puppy looked very cute and its name was Hellwolf, although you couldn't tell from its appearance. The humans were in complete shock at what they saw. Had the demon really been destroyed? Xiao Xinyu and his sister reported with pride on their faces that the monster had indeed been destroyed and there was no longer any danger to humans. Xiao Xinyu and his beast had displayed their skills to the best of their ability. Just as suddenly, the very mother of the girl who had lost her during the danger ran out from the crowd. She was very happy to see her child alive and unharmed. The little girl was very happy to finally hug her mom. She was still scared and cried as soon as she saw her. The woman thanked the beast-taming master for being able to save her daughter. Xiao Xinyu, along with his sister, decided to approach the monster and see if he had actually succeeded. A system panel popped up in front of him and awarded him the monster's core. He was very surprised, but on the other hand, he was happy because he had gotten the initial stage of the poison core. He threw this core directly to his beast, and the beast was overjoyed, because even the initial core could improve his beast's evolution. The terrifying monster was finally destroyed and everyone could relax. All the people who were there began to thank Xiao Xinyang because it was only because of him that they had survived now. He was their true hero. Suddenly, The little girl he had saved from the monster earlier came up to him from the crowd and told him that she wanted to be like him. He assured her that she had everything ahead of her and that she would definitely reach some heights in the future. The sun had already completely set behind the horizon. It was completely dark and only a bright month illuminated the expanse of the sky. Xiao Xinyu had long since peacefully slept in his bed. He was very tired during the day, so he fell asleep very quickly. And for some unknown reason, Xiao Xinyu's sister was standing at his bedside. She was watching him very intently. Suddenly, her eyes suddenly shone with a bright blue light, and because of that, she saw a bright blue seal on Xiao Xinyu's back with the features of a beast on it. She spoke to someone on the phone and told him that the Dragon King seal was still in place. Sister needed to find out why the dragon curse was still on Xiao Xinyu's body and affecting him. She shouted furiously at someone on the phone. She was very agitated because she couldn't understand why Xiao Xinyu still had the ability to contract with the beast. For some reason, she didn't see any sense in it. On the other side of the tube, a voice informed her that it was most likely his destiny, and that was why she should keep her eyes on him and watch Xiao Xinyu's every move. She agreed with the speaker on the phone and promised that she would fulfill this assignment. She simply must keep an eye on Xiao Xinyu. But who is this unknown person with whom she is discussing matters about Xiao Xinyu's life? Further developments will only get more interesting. The events take place at the railroad station of Chifeng City. It was Xiao Xinyu's relatives, and they tried to stick him with a basket of Kachina eggs and some money. They knew that he loved these eggs very much as a child. He waved to them and asked them not to see him off again because as soon as he returned, he would come to visit him in person. The train arrived at the colony, and he and his sister went inside and sat down on their seats. After an hour in the carriage, they announced that in a few minutes there might be animals on the railroad tracks, and because of this, there might be a slight fluctuation of the train. And after a few minutes, as it turned out, they were able to successfully pass the unsafe section of the railroad, and they could safely continue on their way. Xiao Xinyu was overjoyed that they had managed to pass the unsafe section of road without incident. They were on their way to Longan City. His sister reminded him that he would be going to school very soon, so he should study hard. Suddenly, the train started to shake very violently. None of the passengers could not understand what was happening now at all, and suddenly the explanation did not wait long. As it turned out, a group of beasts known as the three-eyed giant monkeys had been spotted ahead. Everyone had to protect their belongings and themselves. The people were very frightened because they thought that everything was behind them and the plot had passed quietly. They were just terrified because they didn't realize what they had to do now, because they were hoping that someone present would be able to take over. One of the monkeys had managed to break through the roof of the train and was preparing to attack at any second. The people were very scared and had no choice but to run away because the beasts had already caught up with them. Xiao Xinyu turned to his sister and asked her to hide somewhere and stay put. She looked at him with an incomprehensible look because she didn't understand what her brother was going to do. She was very worried about her brother and didn't want him to risk his life. A moment later, the monkey was right above Xiao Xian. It was very big and scary, but it couldn't scare Xiao Xinyan at all. Suddenly, some unknown beast struck right at the monkey, and Xiao Xinyan heard someone's voice ordering him to get out of here. It was the daughter of the president of the Sky Guild, Qin Yanran. She had unleashed her beast to protect and help everyone present. And in her opinion, Xiao Xinyu had to leave because he didn't want to die at the hands of the monkeys. No one knew what her superpowers were, but she was probably strong enough. She used the power of the Thunder Flash. When Xiao Xinyu saw this, he was completely shocked at what was happening. Suddenly, Xiao Xinyu saw a system panel that had all the information about her and her animal. It was a three-tailed thunder fox, and besides it, Qin Yanran had a very powerful spear. He was shocked by the arsenal he saw and was very surprised that the daughter of the guild president himself had come to help them. Some of the residents were madly happy that the beast tamer had come to their rescue and they would be saved. Xiao Xinyi's reaction didn't need to wait either. He couldn't believe that they would actually be saved. All the people were very much frightened, but Xiao Xinyu gathered courage and decided that all the residents should urgently leave the train carriage. Suddenly, a whole pack of mad monkeys appeared in front of them. They were very angry and were going to tear each person into small pieces. Xiao Xinyi realized that the girl would not be able to deal with so many beasts by herself. Summoning his beast, he made a decision that they should definitely help her. She was simply terrified because she obviously didn't expect that there would be so many wild beasts here. And seeing Xiao Xinyi rushing to help her, she asked him to be very careful. He summoned his wolf and used one of his abilities. Xiao Xinyu was completely confident in his strength and knew very well that the monkeys would obviously not be able to escape from him. And with a single movement of his hand, he managed to captivate the monkeys with strong and sturdy chains. And seeing how he easily disposed of the animals, Qin Yanran was very surprised that Xiao Xinyu was also a beast tamer. She thanked Xiao Xinyu for his help, to which he said that any beast tamer would have helped his ally in such a situation. Suddenly, Xiao Xinyu noticed something, and he couldn't find an explanation for it. As it later turned out, the system panel popped up and her beast became very weak and depressed. Lately, the girl's beast had become very tired after fighting with wild animals. Its body became very sluggish and it felt as if it couldn't recover. She was shocked and didn't understand how Xiao Xinyu knew all the information about her beast. And he knew that he obviously shouldn't tell her that he could see her system panel and had to lie that he had read about it in a guild book earlier. She thanked him for the information because she had noticed the strange behavior of the animal earlier but didn't understand what was going on with it. They hugged, and from then on, she called him her little brother. Xiao Xinyu's real sister was watching from behind, and it looked like she clearly didn't like it and was very angry. She stood between them and informed them that Xiao Xinyu was not just a younger brother. Xiao Xinyu didn't understand the actions she was doing, and hugging him tightly she announced that he was her younger brother. Qin Yuan looked at her with a suspicious look, and after a moment, she was right behind Xiao Xinyu and questioned her if she really thought so. She decided that from now on he would be her brother too, but Xiao Xinyu's real sister didn't seem to like this decision very much, and they got into a very strong conflict. They started pushing him so hard to their sides that it felt like they could tear him in two. He was completely shocked by what was happening and tried every possible way to stop them. The events moved to the central plaza of the Azure Dragon Academy. The Dean of Education of the Academy, Lin Qian, welcomed all the new students and was happy to see the newcomers in their academy. He asked all the students to be patient because the academy principal wasn't there yet and needed to wait for him. After Xiao Xinyu said goodbye to Sister Qin, he arrived at the academy and was enrolled without any problems. Suddenly, a huge beast appeared out of nowhere. It was a white lion, and O was very strong and beautiful. Most of the students realized where the lion came from, and as soon as the rest of the students saw the purple flaming lion, they realized that Principal Su was already there. This really excited all the freshmen, and they were insanely happy to finally see her. Her beast was as powerful as she was. She descended to the ground directly to her new students. Her assistant asked her to say a few words to the new students who had joined her academy. Xiao Xinyu was completely shocked when he saw her. Her face seemed very familiar, and he was sure that he had seen her before. This was the woman who had fought the demon dragon earlier and saved him from the monster. Xiao Xinyu clearly did not expect that she would turn out to be the principal of the Azure Dragon Academy. She picked up the microphone and congratulated all the new students for entering the Azure Dragon Academy. She continued her speech and said that she didn't care whether they came from a rich family or a poor family. In the Azure Dragon Academy, all students would be required to follow all the rules that she had previously made, and no less important was rule number 8. The students were completely unaware of what was implied in rule number 8. She explained that rule number 8 is one of the most important rules. It is that if there is a conflict between students, it does not matter who is right and who is wrong. There is a ring to resolve the conflict, and they will have to resolve the conflict with a duel in the ring. And after that, the loser will have to apologize to the winner. Rule number 8 was indeed cruel, but in fact, thanks to him can prevent the bullying of the rich over the poor, and entering her academy all become equal. And that was why even ordinary students could do justice to others. It had been about 2 hours since the welcome party. One of the students couldn't believe that he would be studying with Shaoxin himself. Many already knew that his spiritual strength was equal to that of the best master last year. The instructor asked the students to calm down so that he could finally begin the lesson. With his whole appearance, he showed that he clearly didn't like the students' behavior very much. And finally, when everyone had calmed down, he could start his lesson. Many of the boys were ready to follow him around. Every one of them really wanted to be like Xiao Xinyu. As soon as the teacher turned back to the blackboard, some of them tried to talk to Xiao Xinyu again. The teacher, clearly not expecting this, once again asked them to be quiet and pay attention to the blackboard. He had been appointed as their class teacher and hoped that each of the students would be able to get something useful and learn something new at the Azure Dragon Academy. His name was Chinchinian, and he was the one who took the exam of most of the students who had entered. He asked them to open the book, and they would start with the first chapter, which explained the whole theory of the companion beasts. The strength of the ultimate beast is basically determined in 2 ways. One is by determining the evolution of the beast itself. There are lower and higher stages of evolution, and they include the initial form, the mature form, the full form, and the transcendent form. Well, the highest form is the form of the king of beasts. It is the strongest and most powerful. Now, the second factor is the quality of the beast's red liquid. Ancestral lines, just like evolution, exist in 2 cases, the lowest and the highest. And accordingly, the higher quality of the red liquid has an overwhelming effect on the lower category. And on top of that, the attributes of beasts can also create a suppressive effect. For example, there are 5 common elemental attributes such as metal, water, fire, earth, and wood, and they follow a cycle of universal suppression. Wood over earth, earth over water, pitch over fire, fire over metal, and metal over wood. These are the most basic 5 attributes, and of course there are most of the others, but the dean decided not to list all the possible ones because it would take too long. Suddenly, everyone in the classroom heard a heavy snoring sound. They saw such a funny picture. Xiao Xinyu was lying on his desk and apparently fell asleep by accident. The teacher was very angry and threw something at him to wake him up. He didn't accept the fact that in the first lecture in his class someone dared to fall asleep, so he decided to ask Xiao Xian a trick question. He was very curious to hear the answer to what the heavenly demon's real weakness was, and if he couldn't answer the question, then Xiao Xinyu should immediately get up and leave the office building. Xiao Xinyu probably pissed off the teacher very much. The teacher was still waiting for Xiao Sanyu's answer. He must have thought that he obviously couldn't answer such a question. But Xiao Xinyu stood up and defied his expectations and gave a perfect answer to the teacher's question. Her weak point is the poison in the pouch that is under her abdomen. And the teacher asked him another provocative question. Xiao Xinyu had to answer where ice crocodiles usually reside. Xiao Xinyu also easily answered this question and said that they often live in the Frostfall Lake regions of the Southern Dragon Realm in the cold pools under the Kunlun Glacier. All the students who were sitting nearby were very surprised because once again Xiao Xinyu had impressed them with his thoughts and knowledge. Xiao Xinyu's answers amazed the teacher, and he decided to ask one last question. If he encounters a sky-ripping tiger in the wilderness, what will he have to do? Xiao Xinyu said that he would grab the master card and find a shadow to hide from it. The teacher and students looked at him questioningly because they didn't quite understand his answer. He explained that the tiger tearing the sky was the king of beasts, and the only ones who could resist it were masters with 6th level and above. If a novice beast tamer met a torn tiger in the wild, there would only be one outcome, because they were not strong enough to resist such a powerful beast. And on top of that, he would put his ID card in his mouth so that his family could easily determine the identity of his body. And thanks to the shadow, the human body would decompose much slower than usual. The teacher was completely shocked by what he heard, because he obviously did not expect such an interesting and correct answer. He said through gritted teeth that he gave Xiao Xinyue's answer the highest score. There was no end to his surprise because, as it turned out, he had asked him questions from the most recent chapters and did not understand how he had managed to answer such difficult questions. Xiao Xinyu showed all the books and said that he had long ago finished studying the material from all the following books and chapters. All the students were completely shocked. They didn't understand how they could keep up with him. They thought Xiao Sanyu was an insanely talented student. He asked the class to continue studying the chapter material on their own and ordered Xiao Sanyu to follow him somewhere. Xiao Sanyu apologized and warned that he would no longer sleep in class. But as it turned out, the teacher had not called him to lecture him about sleeping in class. He was very surprised that Xiao Xinyue had actually managed to master the entire semester's theoretical material in less than half of the classes. Xiao Xinyue believed that it was all thanks to Mr. Chen's classroom teaching. The teacher didn't really like the way Xiao Xinyu flattered him, and because he had finished the entire theory section, he decided it was time for him to move on to more advanced material. He issued him an Azure Dragon Academy library card. Xiao Xinyu was very much surprised. This pass let him visit the Azure Dragon Academy's library in peace, and he had the right to borrow any books for free. After seeing all of his students' knowledge, the teacher realized that he had nothing more to teach him, so he gave him the opportunity to study the material on his own. The event moved to the library of the Azure Dragon Academy. Xiao Xinyu fully immersed himself in the study of the following material. He was very attentive to the study of chows in the birthing stage. Suddenly, someone abruptly burst into the library building. It turned out to be the son of the director's advocate Wang Yang. He was very arrogant, because he thought that the whole academy belongs only to him. He ordered all the boys to leave the library building. So of course everyone scattered around and soon left the building. As it turned out, they were very afraid of him. But Xiao Xinyu did not pay attention and remained seated in his seat, continuing to study the information carefully. When he saw the girls, he asked them to stay and keep him company while he was supposedly studying. They looked at him with frightened eyes and begged him to let them go. Suddenly, his behavior made Xiao Xinyu very angry, and after closing the book, he ordered him to shut up. Wang Yang clearly didn't like this and was very angry. He didn't suspect that anyone would dare to contradict him. Wang Yang's friends pointed their fingers at Xiao Xinyu and said that he was the guy who disrespected him. Xiao Xinyu stood up for the girls because he considered those people who bully girls to be the bottom. Wang Yang didn't understand who this hero was who dared to cross him. The girl was very scared and advised Xiao Xinyu not to mess with this guy just because he is the son of the headmaster's intercessor. And after that, it came to Xiao Xinyue's attention for what reason this guy was allowing himself this kind of behavior. Wang Yang was very happy that Xiao Xinye was able to realize this. And since Xiao Xinye now knew who he was, Wang Yang ordered him to kneel down in front of him and apologize. hoping that he would actually carry out all of his instructions. But under no circumstances was Xiao Xingye going to do so. He was really pissed off by this guy's arrogance and decided to teach him a lesson, thereby hitting him. Wang Yang shrank back and fell to the floor. His friends clearly did not expect this turn of events. They were completely shocked and began to worry greatly about Wang Yang's condition. Wang Yang was very furious. He didn't understand what right Xiao Xingye had to fight him at all. His strength had left him a bit, but that didn't stop him from threatening Xiao Xingye. He promised him that he would make sure that Xiao Xingye would not be able to stay alive. He continued to act arrogant even while lying on the floor. Suddenly, there was a clack of heels behind them, and they heard a familiar voice. It was the academy principal, and she looked quite stern. With a sneer, she said that she didn't even realize that Qinglong Academy was under the control of this arrogant guy. Wang Yam couldn't understand at all how the principal knew about the incident so quickly and came to them. She seemed to have realized what had happened between them, and she said that since they had a conflict, to solve it, they must comply with rule number 8. This rule is a duel between two conflicting parties. The loser must apologize to the winner. The events have moved to the main arena area. The announcers announced that the fight between Xiao Xinyu and Wang Yang was about to take place and invited everyone to watch. But as it turned out, Wang Yang's beast was the legendary 6-headed sky-creating leopard. Can Xiao Xinyu really defeat it? It would be a very difficult fight. The teacher was very worried about his student, and he hoped very much that Xiao Xinyu would not let him down. The battle was about to begin, and all the participants should enter the arena. As he held his hand before the fight, he threatened Xiao Xinyu that after the fight he would kiss his feet and do his bidding. Without paying attention, he threw him a retort and told him that he would wait for him to personally apologize. This really pissed Wang Yang off. Finally, after a few minutes, the competition between them began. Wang Yang summoned his mighty leopard to the surface. It looked amazing. It was azure blue in color with huge fangs and insanely powerful strength. It was an insanely strong cleaving leopard. This bloodline was legendary. It had unreal strength, and any attack it made dealt a huge amount of freezing damage. Seeing that this beast had as many as 2 attributes, Xiao Xinyu was completely shocked. But it didn't scare him because he was willing to be responsible for his actions and words. It was his time to speak. He summoned his black fang into the arena. Seeing Xiao Xinyu's beast, one of the students was completely shocked. He thought he was very strong and powerful. But the other one clearly disagreed with him, and he thought that the 6-clawed sky-splitting leopard would completely win in this level. Someone was watching everything happening from the VIP seats. It was Academy Principal Qin Long. After taking a closer look, she realized that she had never seen a beast like Xiao Xingya's, but it was very similar to her. It was like an evolutionary version of a wind dog. But after all, a wind dog was always a useless beast that never had an evolutionary path. She couldn't understand how Xiao Xinyu was able to create such a transformation with his beast. Meanwhile, in the arena, Wang Yan was trying to humiliate Xiao Xinyu in every way possible. He was 100% sure of his victory. He unleashed his ice leopard that could create ice cracks all over the arena with its claw. It looked very powerful. Xiao Xingya's black rock beast had to make a snake-like movement. It dodged the leopard's punches with ease. 2 strong animals clashed in a strong fight. It both possessed very powerful strength and was willing to put up 100% in the battle. Master watched the duel intently. Xiao Xinyu's Hellstorm Wolf was a beast with the attributes of wind and fire, while the sky-splitting leopard was a beast with the attributes of ice and wind. And at any rate, each of them had flaws that they would not be able to avoid under any circumstances. Wang Yang informed Xiao Xinyu that he would easily be able to immobilize his beast, and after a moment, he released the ice leopard outside. Applying the destructive sky skill, he struck the Xiao Xinyu beast vividly. And now, he didn't understand what he should do. Xiao Xinyu's beast was completely immobilized and frozen into an ice block. After something like this, no one knew what would happen next. Xiao Xinyu definitely had to think of a further plan of action because he clearly must not lose to this scum. Xiao Xinyu looks at his ice-frozen clump of Hellhound while his opponent laughs while saying, "Ha ha ha, Xiao Xinyu." The opponent stands next to the huge snow leopard and threateningly states, "Pretty soon, your beast will just freeze to death." The people around are watching tensely, the woman thinking, "What will you do, Xiao Xinyu?" Xiao Xinyu smiles confidently as he looks at his opponent and utters, "Humph, are you so sure of that?" He abruptly shouts out, "Black Fang, hunt in the darkness," activating his Hellhound, which begins to free itself from the ice trap. The Hellhound begins to dissolve like coffee in hot water. The enemy is amazed to see the dog disappear from the ice block, exclaiming, "Gone!" 2 observers assess what is happening. The teacher says, "An attribute of darkness," and the principal adds, "It turns out that Xiao Xinyu's beast has as many as 3 of them." The opponent starts to panic, looking around. "Damn, where did he go?" A red shadow appears on the ground, and one of the observers realizes, "So he became a shadow." No wonder the ice couldn't hold him. The Hellhound suddenly bursts out of the shadow and rushes at the opponent with a deafening roar. The opponent notices the threat at the last moment, his eyes widening in shock. The snow leopard tries to engage, swiftly attacking the Hellhound, but the latter is already ready for a fight. Their claws collide in a fierce confrontation, and the opponent cries out in surprise, sensing the approaching danger. Xiao Xinyu confidently observes the fight and says, "Humph, let him show what he can do." The Hellhound glares fiercely at his opponent, preparing to deliver a decisive blow. Xiao Xinyu commands his beast, Black Fang, Oblivion Claw. The dog instantly activates its ability, and an aura of powerful darkness appears around it, ready to crush the enemy. A blast of red energy dazzles everyone around him, and the dog attacks the enemy with incredible power. At that moment, the effect of the Claw of Oblivion does its job. The snow leopard is trapped in the attack streams, and its owner screams, "Ice Flame, fight back, don't just stand there, do something." The woman watches the battle between the two masters and realizes that the Ice Fang can't stand up to the Hellhound. The snow leopard, reinforced with ice magic, prepares to attack. Its eyes are filled with red light, and it rushes forward. It is announced that Claw of Oblivion is a skill of the attribute of darkness. When it hits the target, it causes paralysis for 3 seconds. Xiao Xinyu, fighting to win, decides that it's time to end the fight. He shouts out a command, urging his dog to deliver the decisive blow. The Hellhound, showing its fury, executes an attack called Black Fang, Hell Howl. Its eyes shine with scarlet light, and the energy around it concentrates into a powerful strike. Xiao Xinyu's Hellhound unleashes a powerful volley of fire filled with bright energy directly at the enemy. Its attack looks like a sizzling flash that comes off its mouth and rushes forward, striking the target. The opponent's snow leopard cannot withstand the force of the attack and flies away, suffering severe damage. Its body is knocked down, and shards of the surrounding space fly in different directions. Xiao Xinyu and the host celebrate the victory. The host joyfully raises Xiao Xinyu's hand and announces, "Victory!" Xiao Xinyu stands confidently, his face expressing satisfaction after successfully completing the battle. The fans in the crowd shout with delight as they support their hero. They shout out the winner's name with smiles and enthusiasm. Xiao Xinyu. Xiao Xinyu's opponent, who was standing so arrogantly before, is now on his knees, shocked and exhausted. His face expresses complete disbelief at what happened. And it's impossible. The principal approaches the student and says coldly, "You lost." A woman watching all this happening intervenes and states, "Now, according to school rules, apologize properly." She walks toward her opponent, her voice stern and determined, demanding justice. The woman continues with a cold stare, "It's time to stop this farce already." Her determination is obvious, and she has no intention of letting the rules be broken. The opponent is desperate, his face contorted with rage and frustration. He can't accept the humiliation, but he still realizes his position. He bends down in front of Xiao Xinyu and apologizes, his voice trembling, "Forgive me." Xiao Xinyu looks at him, remaining calm, and watches his opponent perform the apology. The principal meets with the winner and says, "Xiao Xinyu, that was a great duel. You're already the second student to impress me." The defeated opponent cannot accept this. There is fury on his face, and he whispers under his breath, "You'll pay for this yet, Xiao Xinyu." The woman who was watching the fight smiles and turns to Xiao Xinyu. "I look forward to seeing you compete in the freshman ranking tournament in 3 days." Xiao Xinyu, slightly embarrassed, Thank you for the praise, Madam Headmaster." After which, he asks the question that interests him, "But who was first then?" The headmaster replies with a serious tone, "A genius girl with a spiritual power level above 1,000. Her name is Yi Ningxuang." Xiao Xinyu immediately realizes that this is the same one who was already talked about in the entrance exam. Xiao Xinyu's inner voice recalls the information. Her again, she's the one they were still talking about in the entrance exam. His gaze becomes more serious, as if he is preparing for a new challenge. The woman takes out a spatial ring and holds it out to Xiao Xinyu, saying, "I know how to appreciate talents, so you can take this spatial ring as a reward." Her smile shows that she is genuinely proud of his achievements and wants to support him. Xiao Xinyu looks at the ring with surprise and delight. He did not expect such a valuable reward. The spatial ring is surrounded by golden light, and the woman explains, "You can store anything in it, right?" Under this description, it is also explained that the ring is a high-tech equipment designed to store various things including food, summoned beast supplements, and magical monster cores. Xiao Xinyu, having finally recovered from her surprise, gladly accepts the ring, smiling gratefully. "Then I will gladly accept this reward." He takes the ring and says, "Thank you, Headmaster." Xiao Xinyu is standing at the gate of Azure Dragon Academy, thinking that his sister must be worried and that he needs to go home soon. Suddenly, a little girl crashes into him, who cries out slightly from the impact, "Ouch!" The little girl, whose eyes are spinning from the impact, looks confused. Xiao Xinyu asks if she's okay, and she replies that yes, she's fine. Xiao Xinyu gets down on one knee in front of the girl and gently places his hand on her head, instructs her to look around next time, and suggests she run home. The girl suddenly says, "But, brother, I have nowhere to go. Could you please shelter me?" and hugs his leg, asking for help. Xiao Xinyu looks puzzled. Being in the family dormitory, the sister was indignant. "I just arrived and already this kind of thing is here." Xiao Xinyu is suddenly grabbed by the ear by his sister, who exclaims, "Xiao Xinyu, did you kidnap a child?" He looks confused and doesn't understand anything. Xiao Xinyu tries to justify himself. "Of course not. Just let me explain everything." His sister replies unhappily, "Explain? And what were you going to explain if you've already done everything?" A few minutes pass and the situation calms down a bit. Xiao Xinyu sits next to the girl and his sister, explaining the situation to them. He says that the girl named Shimeng is afraid of magical beasts and cannot become a beastmaster. Besides, she was constantly bullied at home, so she ran away. Xiao Xinyu explains that he brought the girl here to help her deal with her fear. His serious expression and confident posture show how important it is for him to help the girl overcome her fear. The girl asks Zhou Shue's sister to stay with her as she doesn't want to go back home. Zhou Shue looks at her and agrees, but her face expresses some concern. Hugging the girl, Zhou Shue starts a sentence with "however," as if she is about to say something important or give a warning. She then tells Xiao Xinyu that he should not date a girl from the Yi family, emphasizing the importance of this prohibition. Xiao looks puzzled, clearly not understanding the reason. The scene shifts to the Azure Dragon Academy, where a group of students are preparing for an important event. Xiao ponders the ban on meeting a girl from the Yi family, not understanding why his sister suddenly brought up the topic. Zhao's friend is surprised by his mumbling and asks if he knows anything about the Yi family, then reminds him that in this lesson they will be defining roles on the battlefield and wonders if Xiao knows what that is. Xiao, embarrassed, apologizes and confirms that they will be discussing roles as a group, clarifying that beastmen usually act in teams and their roles are different. They are then shown visualizations of the different roles in battle: an archer with ranged skills, a mage with advanced crowd control, and other team members with their respective pets, such as a giant bear. There are roles like tank. For example, this guy has some powerful creature that resembles a huge beast with spikes. He has strong defenses and skills that can regenerate health. The glowing orange glow around him emphasizes his combat power and willingness to protect the team. The tank, as they say, is a shield for everyone else, providing protection and support. Next, the assassin is shown, which is highly maneuverable. It is designed to take out enemies, especially those who are already weakened. The picture shows his agility and swiftness, with energy surrounding his body. A cat with purple eyes next to him enhances his mystical and swift nature. A support that specializes in reinforcing team members was also shown. The huge butterfly above the character symbolizes his ability to impose positive effects on the entire team, providing a significant advantage in battle. The butterfly glows with a soft purple light, emphasizing its magical abilities. Shang Yu appears with a surprised expression on his face, and he turns to Brother Xiao, wondering how his storm butterfly could best fit in with the team. His emotions are conveyed through his gestures and widened eyes, showing his genuine interest in what is happening. The teacher suddenly interrupts their dialogue, pointing out that Shang Yu is talking too much during class. He demands silence, and Shang Yu immediately apologizes, admitting his mistake. The teacher explains that according to the ordinal numbers, they will need to summon their beasts to take the test. In this way, the teacher will decide each student's role in the group. The first in line was Sung, who he got the role of a tank as his beast has powerful defense, so now he is a tank. His beast was in the form of a powerful bull, with a huge ring in its nose. Next was the chattering Wu Shangyu. He got the role of a mage, as his storm butterfly possesses massive water element-based skills. Finally, it was Xiao Xinyu's turn. The guy was excited, hoping that he would get a good role. But first, Xiao must pass the first attack test. The teacher asked if Xiao was ready. Xiao Xian standing in the center of the magic circle with burning runes around him. He confidently states, "Always ready." Soon, Xiao summons his huge wolf that emits an intimidating aura. The wolf prepares to attack, its eyes burning red with Xiao by its side. Next, a powerful attack occurs. The wolf, which Xiao calls Black Fong, performs a hell howl. From this action, a huge explosion occurs, with energy flying in all directions, destroying everything around it. The power of the attack is noticeable in the surrounding landscape. After the attack, the result appears on the screen. Critical hit, triple. The number that appears on the screen is 6371, showing the incredible power of the attack. This number clearly exceeds the expectations of those around him. The students' reactions are not long in coming. They are amazed. One of them exclaims delightedly, "Wow, that's a triple critical hit." Another adds in a panic that it won't even reach 1500, showing how much higher Zhao's abilities are. The teacher watching is also impressed with the result. He notes that usually the attack of novice beastmasters is between 500 and 1500, and clearly did not expect such a result from Zhao and his wolf. This unexpected result makes one wonder about the hidden potential of the disciple. Zhao, himself wasting no time, turns to the teacher, asking if he is suitable for the role of an assassin based on his successful passing of the attack test. But his words are interrupted by the teacher's order to continue the test, making it clear that it doesn't end there. The next test is a range test. Zhao once again summons the Black Fang, who performs the Hell Howl, releasing a powerful beam of energy. Sheng Yu is surprised by the result. The attack reaches nearly 800 meters, suggesting that perhaps the role of an archer would have suited Zhao best. But suddenly, the demonic wolf shows amazing results. Besides attack and range, it was also good at defense, and therefore Shang Yu thinks that Zhao might fit the role of a tank since he is a real monster. Stop. Wolf Zhao again shows amazing results on control, so Shang Yu thinks that Zhao can become a mage. The teacher analyzed the data and says that any beast that is within 10 meters of the storm wolf gets a 30% increase to rage, 10% to attack, and 10% to movement speed. Shang Yu was shocked. He asks Teacher Chun what role Zhao Xinyu would play, because any of them are suitable for him, so it is very difficult to choose. Zhao himself listening to all this, he himself was shocked at his wolf, for he was so good that he had nothing to say. Looking at the teacher, one could tell that he was thinking about something. Indeed, the teacher explains to the students that actually, besides these 5 roles, there is another special role called, but as usual, no one tells us what that role is. Instead, Zhao stands in a rather pathetic stance. Sheng Yu asks Teacher Chun, "What does that mean?" The teacher explains that it's the name of a beastmaster whose summoned creature is equally suited for all roles. That's when the beastmaster is honored with a special role. Yes, Zhao Xinyu turns out to be the only universal in their group. Classmates were shocked by Zhao's coolness. They wondered how he became so cool. But our boy Zhao blushes at these words. According to him, he is not as cool as he seems. Teacher Chun warns against rejoicing prematurely, as universals are rare but do exist. He reports that the flow data has not yet been fully processed, but some names are already known, including Zhao Xinyu. He mentions that Ning Shun and Han Tianjun are in the second group, and Mori Yinyang and Li Xianjun are in the third group. The teacher appeals to the disciples, including Zhao Xinyu, to continue working hard. A little later, Zhao Xinyu, walking around the campus, reflects on the fact that classes are finally over. He plans to buy Black Fang supplements to prepare for the beginner ranking competition. Along the way, he is stopped by a group of guys. One of them asks him where he is in such a hurry. Zhao Xinyu warily inquires what they want. The leader of the group, with a smirk, mentions the Black Tiger Guild and hints at a conflict. Idiot Wang suggests breaking Zhao's leg to see if he'll remain as cocky afterward, and a guy named Lei agrees to do it. A group of people block Zhao Xinyu's path, accusing him of daring to cross young Master Wang. Zhao realizes that the leader of the group is named Lei. The leader of the group, Brother Lei, appears before him with a threat. Zhao notices that the opponents are 3rd and 4th level beastmen, and rebukes them for attacking someone who is only at the 1st level. You can tell in his gaze that since they decided to attack, he won't hold back. One of the opponents, with a confident smirk, prepares to attack, declaring that Zhao will get what he deserves now. He assures the Mr. Wang standing behind him that he can handle him. His hand glowed with purple lightning, telling us that he will now summon his pet. The enemy summons Thunder Tiger, who growls impressively as he prepares to attack. In response, Zhao commands Black Fang to engage. Black Fang, powerful and formidable, rushes at the tiger, showing off his strength. He bites the tiger's neck, which makes the tiger squeal like a dog. Even though he is a cat, the tiger is unable to hold back the onslaught, falling to the ground. Brother Lei is shocked, realizing that the young master did not warn him about such a powerful Zhao beast. Brother Lei ponders how his opponent, who is only in his mature form, is able to resist his full-stage lightning tiger. 2 powerful beasts meet on the battlefield, the Thunder Tiger and the Red Wolf, both surrounded by electrical discharges, ready to fight. Bro. Lei, confident in his strength, is challenged, believing his opponent to be weak. He is determined to find out who is stronger. A group of people gather around him, each accompanied by a different beast. Among them, the 3rd and 4th level elite of the Black Tiger Guild stands out. Meanwhile, someone is pondering over who will win this confrontation, the Black Tiger or the other side. Suddenly, everyone's attention is drawn by the appearance of a girl with 2 companions. She declares her affiliation with the Heaven Sky Guild, which causes everyone around her to be surprised. Xiao was shocked that he had met Qin's sister in this place. Xiao Xinyu, upon seeing the acquaintance, exclaims, "Sister Qin!" At this time, a group of people find themselves surrounded, and one of them reports in a panic, "Head trouble! We're surrounded." It turns out that they were surrounded by the Heavenly Guild, the second-ranked guild in Luanine City. Even the strongest guild avoids conflicts with them. Miss Qin appears and is asked the reason for her visit. She, hugging Xiao Xinyu, says that she accidentally found out about Lei's intentions for her brother. She is surprised that Lei was planning something against Xiao Xinyu, whom she calls her named brother. Qin Yinzhan warns that if someone decides to offend her brother, they will face her and the entire Heavenly Guild first. Lei, realizing the situation, tries to justify herself, claiming that there was a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Brother Lei points out a guy named Wang, stating that he was the one who hired them to cause trouble for Qin Yinzhan's brother. Wang, in a tense situation, excuses himself to Miss Qin, saying that he didn't know about Zhao's relationship with her. Meanwhile, Miss Qin turns to head Lei, reminding him of his duties. Lei, embarrassed and sweaty, agrees, claiming he knows what to do. Meanwhile, a conflict breaks out. One of the men of Brother Lei's group accuses Wang of daring to offend young Master Xiao. Brother Lei orders his boys to teach the offending man a lesson. In response, the offended man exclaims that he was the one who hired them and wonders how he could have been treated like that. Later, the conversation shifts to the Heavenly Guild. The girl asks Brother Xiao how he came across this situation in the first place. Xiao explains that he wanted to buy tonics for Black Fong and didn't expect to be so lucky. The girl wonders why he hasn't asked her for help. She reminds him that their guild specializes in such things and offers him everything he needs for free. Xiao is amazed at her generosity and reflects that she must be the guild leader's only and favorite daughter. They then walk through the training hall, which is equipped with advanced simulators for the beasts to quickly learn skills. There's also a lounge area where the beast men can relax after their quests. The building has a conference room for meetings and planning further development. In the medical area with advanced equipment and a wide range of medicines, there is an explanation about the highly skilled beast doctors who provide the best services to treat injured beasts. Xiaoman is surprised by the term beast doctors and wonders about the possibility of joining the guild and becoming a doctor. He approaches Sister Qin to ask to join, but is met with an emphatic refusal. The deputy head of the Heaven Guild, Lu Yu, states that the young man's age and experience do not qualify him for a place in their guild, emphasizing that this is not funny. The situation is defused by a girl who calls the young man her brother-in-law and explains that he helped her on the train. She recalls that she has already told about him. At this time, a guy runs in reporting breaking news. He reports the delivery of several severely injured beasts, and the staff is faced with a shortage of staff. Lu Yu decides to call for help from other branches, but time is short due to the heavy bleeding of the beasts. That's when Xiao takes full responsibility and offers his help, realizing that there's not a second to lose. The events take place in the Celestial Guild building. The green-eyed mastiff was lying on the operating table at number 3, dripping red liquid. They had to get a spare bag for the red liquid as soon as possible. All decisions were made quickly and urgently. The guys were very confused. They carried the animal on the operating table and ran for the doctor to give it emergency medical attention. He rushed past the crowd of people and begged the doctor to do his best to save his animal. The animal had lost a lot of red fluid, and the first thing they need to do is stop the fluid from spilling. They found a remedy that was supposed to stop it, but it didn't work. They then decided to use a cure, but unfortunately it didn't work either. Everyone was in complete shock because they didn't understand how they could do it. Suddenly, Xiao Xinyu intervened and said that it was pointless as ordinary hemostasis would not work in this case. Now Xiao Xinyu's ability was just in time. He took a closer look at the beast to make a full analysis. The green-eyed mastiff's life sign said that the magic beast poison beetle had inflicted a pinpoint wound, which was accompanied by a fluorescent green-colored obstructive slime. And that's why the mucus is why the wound won't heal. The mastiff's injury was caused by the goldenrod beetle, the poisonous mana bee. This bright green mucus is a very strong toxin that prevents the wound from healing. Suddenly, Xiao Xinyu thought and found a way to stop the red liquid from spilling out, but before he could do that he needed the beast owner's trust. This guy had no choice and was willing to do anything for his animal. He begged Xiao Xinyan to help him in any way he could. The medicinal potion would require 1 sky spirit herb and 1 purple medicinal flower. They would need to be grinded together in 1 container. And after that, you will get 20 grams of liquid medicine. After that, you need to add the core of a magical beast of extraordinary rank, which is poisonous properties. And for the final preparation, you must boil this solution for 5 minutes. But the doctors were well aware that each of these herbs is poisonous in its own way. Wouldn't this potion make the beast worse? They didn't quite trust Xiao Xingu's proposed method. Suddenly, Xiao Xingu ordered them to immediately create this medicine and follow all the points of creating it, because if they missed such a chance, this beast would definitely not survive. They decided not to waste a moment of time and get everything they needed for the medicine as soon as possible. Xiao Xinyu had to follow them to help them. After a couple minutes, the potion was ready. He returned as soon as possible and brought the already prepared medicine for the green-eyed beast. Xiao Xinyu carefully put on his gloves and prepared to rescue the beast. He soaked his hands in the prepared potion, and after that, he carefully touched the beast's wound and smeared it with the prepared medicine. As suddenly after a moment, the beast roared loudly and the entire space shone with a magical light. Xiao Xinyu and the owner of the beast looked at it excitedly, and after both of them looked at the beast's wound, they saw the spilling of red liquid start to stop and the beast's wound started to heal a little bit at a time. The guy cried with happiness beside his beast, rejoicing that his animal's life had been saved. At that time, Xiao Xini went over to Vice President Liu to see if she was satisfied with what he had done. His act really impressed her, although she didn't trust his treatment method much at the beginning. But now, she solemnly announced to him her invitation to join the Heavenly Guild. She really wants him to become a specialized pharmacist of their medical office from now on. Xiao Xinyu shook hands with the vice president and happily thanked her for the invitation. Xiao Xinyu's sister scolded him very much for being late. She couldn't realize that Xiao Xinyu only came home so late for one reason. He had signed a cooperation contract with the Celestial Guild and he would be working for them as a pharmacist from now on. Xiao Xinyu looked at her sister fearfully and confirmed all of her words. And now she realized that once he had the fake sister Qing, he had forgotten about his real sister. But Xiao Xinyu denied everything because it was impossible. She would forever be the truest sister to him no matter what. Suddenly, the little girl appeared and asked what this special pharmacist meant. Xiao Xinyu explained that from now on, he was a true employee of the Heavenly Guild and he would now receive a salary for his work. Therefore, this weekend, Xiao Xinyu decided to give his little family a class party. The little girl was very excited about it and was looking forward to the party. And suddenly, moments later, the events happened in the room of that very Wang Yang. Wang Yang was lying on his bed and mentally hated Xiao Xinyu. He promised himself that he would make this guy pay for his actions. Just as suddenly, his father appeared beside the guy. He hated him for his son allowing himself such behavior. Wang Yang begged him to cooperate and help him teach Xiao Xinyu a lesson. He stood over the boy and couldn't believe that his son really couldn't win over a small-town boy. Wang Yong was a complete disgrace to him because his father didn't even expect such a loss in the ring. Wang Yong had not only embarrassed himself, but he had also pulled his entire family into this disgrace. Wang Yong cried and begged his father to stop bullying him. This guy couldn't even think that someone like Xiao Xinyu would have 3 beast attributes. And since the Heavenly Guild is on Xiao Xinyu's side, Wang Yang would definitely not be able to avenge him for everything. Father was well aware that their family would not be allowed to charge the Heavenly Guild with anything. Suddenly, a great plan came into his father's mind. He thought that if there was an accident at the trial and Xiao Xinyu was killed by a beast, it would definitely have nothing to do with their family. It was a great evil plan and they were going to carry it out as soon as possible. And now the long-awaited and exciting day has finally arrived. Today is the Yin Nanshan trial for all freshmen. This trial will be broadcast live on the World Wide Web. Everyone was eager to start as soon as possible. Each participant received a bracelet on their arm. The bracelet would record the number of beasts destroyed, and it would also be able to record each battle scene. 1 to 10 destructions would mean level C, 11 to 30 destructions would mean level B, 31 to 50 destructions would mean level A, 51 to 80 destructions would be level S, and finally above 80 destructions would mean the highest grade of S+ level. Principal Su asked Vice President Wang to announce the top students of this year's freshman class before the test began. The guys in the distance were discussing heatedly about last year's test results, and Yining was the winner then. Mr. Wang picked up the microphone and was ready to announce this year's top freshman students. As it turned out, after the battle position test, there are 3 top gifted students this year. In the freshman class, it turned out to be Mu Rong's disciple Yangshua. As it later turned out, he was the eldest son of the Mu Rong family. Next, there is another top student in the same class, and it is Murong Xiong Xiong. Everyone was very surprised that they were from the same family, and on top of that, the 2 best students were in the same class. And the 3rd best student was Xiao Xinyu. As soon as he heard that they were from the Murong family, he got curious. There are 4 huge beast tamer families in China. They are the Yi family, the Li family, the Mu Rong family, and the Shanguan family. and it looks like they're among the top Mu Rong family. The events have moved to the Azure Dragon Academy's radio station, Qingwan. This is the live broadcast host Yang Su. He will be broadcasting live and commenting on the entire trial process. Director Su turned to the vice president because she was very curious to know his thoughts on the number of destructions Xiao Xinyu would make. Wang was confident that the number of beasts he would destroy would touch 50, as he was sure that it would be a great result for Xiao Xinyu. The teacher was well aware that it was impossible, because with Xiao Xinyu's strength and talent, the number would clearly touch at least 80. The professor was 100% confident in his disciple's abilities. But no one could actually know the correct answer in advance. Principal Su really liked Xiao Xinyu, and she was looking forward to the highest score from him, because she was confident that he would be able to beat the result of last year's test. Each of the freshmen had to enter in turn. After a few seconds, the trial officially began. Not even half an hour passed before the second class successfully destroyed the short-tailed bear. In total, it had already brought about 10 annihilations. Principal Su was watching all the events closely at the time. The presenter congratulated Sun Tian Hao from the 5th grade because the number of his destructions had already reached 20. This was simply marvelous, because in Mu Rongyang Shou's first class, Mu Rongyang Shou had already managed to destroy as many as 43 beasts. This was basically to be expected. Everyone was well aware that the Mu Rong family was the best. Some people who were watching even wanted to marry him. The girls just went crazy when they heard this guy's name. The host continued to broadcast live and provide commentary on all the events. Murong Yangshua's White Griffin, Murong Yangshua himself, is the only beast in this difficult challenge that has super strength. His ability to penetrate space is incredibly useful because it allows him to be right next to the beast in an instant, and every attack he makes has a penetrating effect. The snake with silver fangs is the beast with the best ability to recover. But this did not give it the ability to block the White Griffin's skills in any way, and so its demise was simply terrifying. Yongshua's White Griffin tormented the silver snake in its beak with fury and finally destroyed it mercilessly. Now it was left to Yongshua to complete this action. He needs to destroy the crystal core inside the beast. The results were simply marvelous. The Mu Rong family came in second and first place. And at the same time, Xiao Sanyu's destruction number was almost the same as theirs. After watching Yangshua's performance, the viewers could now follow the host and switch to Xing Axian Xing Murong Axian. Axian's Murong beast was a bone-winged flyer. His bloodline reaches a legendary quality. He was the only undestroyable beast in this trial. And now, a second-ranked bloodthirsty lion appeared on their path. Its physical strike has 5 times critical effect, and it is really very strong. But since it has appeared in their path, it will be easily destroyed at the earliest possible time. If Axian were to destroy this beast, the number of it destroyed would reach 51. As it turned out, the audience thought her talent was much better than her brother's. She was simply incredibly beautiful and strong. Ian Cho looked at the results and was shocked, because this time his sister had actually taken the first place. Just as suddenly, the expression on his face changed drastically, because he realized that someone had dared to surpass his sister and overtake him. And that's what had happened just 1 minute ago. This was what could change all of Mu Rong family's plans in today's victory. Axian was already prepared for her beast to accomplish the destruction of the legendary bloodthirsty lion right now. Finally, she was able to make another destruction in her table. Just as suddenly, she heard Xiao Sinyu's voice, and apparently he ordered his beast to immediately launch an attack. Action was completely shocked by what was happening because she was perplexed by what she heard. Just as suddenly, Xiao Sinyu's black fawn abruptly appeared in front of the flyer, and it looked like it was going to steal Xian's beast annihilation. This was clearly not expected by anyone. All the spectators were completely shocked by what was happening. A flying purple dragon lights up the sky above the ruined ruins. On the ground, Xiao Xinyu riding a black wolf, a girl in white standing beside her, and a huge lion with an imposing mane-like appearance can be seen. Xiao Xinyu says with a confident smile as he thanks his interlocutor for providing the lion head. His wolf looks menacing, and the lion, judging from his expression, clearly did not expect this turn of events. Xin looks cold-blooded, but nearby her companion is shouting in anger, fiery eyes blazing with indignation. Emotions run high, but the heroine remains restrained, as if preparing for the next step. The host announces the dramatic development of events to the audience with obvious delight. The screen displays the tournament ranking, in which the students begin to change their positions. Someone is clearly seizing the lead, and the intrigue intensifies. Out of nowhere, a demonic creature with 3 eyes appears. It is surrounded by an aura of purple glow, which gives the situation even more danger. The heroes tense up before the new challenge. A close-up shows the confrontation. The presenter emphasizes the tension between the heroes, describing their thirst for victory. The question arises, which of them will win in this deadly battle? Xiao Xinyu and his wolf launch an attack using a technique called Hell Chain. The wolf releases a powerful burst of energy, filling the arena with spirals of fire. The sight looks intimidating and spectacular. Despite the three-eyed monster's tough shell, the wolf's hellfire does real damage. This weapon seems to be able to pierce through any defense, adding tension to the battle. Xiao Xinyu commands the wolf to stop attacking. The monster makes a counterattack. It manages to gather energy and release a powerful beam that carries towards the hero. Xiao Xinyu decides to act using a powerful technique. The fire whirlwind and bone flame combine into a dazzling explosion aimed at the three-eyed monster. This appears to be its final blow. The attack is completed, and the demonic creature is finally defeated. The remaining purple flames dissolve into thin air, leaving the heroes to face the vanishing threat. A bright red crystal falls out of the monster's body, surrounded by haze and blood. It is clearly a trophy, earned at the cost of an intense battle. Xin notices the trophy and picks it up with a smile as if to tease Xiao Xinyu. Her words reveal that she still remembers their previous disagreement. The anchor continues to broadcast the rating updates. Xiao Xinyu is tied with Murong Xin on points, causing a stir among the viewers. Against the backdrop of a scenic waterfall, the anticipation of the completion of the trials resounds. Porcupine appears in front of Xiao Xinyu. Its spikes look dangerous, but the hero seems confident in his abilities and prepares for action with the black wolf. The porcupine's expressive face lights up with menace. The heroes gather together after the battle. A skeletal dragon appears in the background, and Xin folds her arms and looks confident. The tension between the characters dissipates slightly. Xiao Xinyu and Xin prepare for the next step. Their team looks strong, but every moment portends new challenges. The host reports that Xin has successfully won first place in the past half hour using the trophy stolen from Xiao Xinyu. The rankings show her significant advantage. Xiao Xinyu expresses her dissatisfaction with an ironic remark that it is not necessary to pursue her. Xin, however, does not lose her confidence, but her gaze betrays slight irritation. Xin's face is displayed on the screen, causing a flood of comments from the viewers. The viewers express admiration for her courage while she remains cool-headed. Xiao Xinyu warns from the screens that he will not be spared next time. The anchor wonders with surprise if he hasn't used his full strength so far. Amidst the sharp confrontation, Xiao Xinyu and Xin rush on their beasts. Time is inexorably passing and the results of their hunt have already broken all records. Both show incredible synchronization with their animals. The lion fights, releasing a torrent of energy, demonstrating his power. The battle reaches a new heat. The heroes continue the battle surrounded by clockwork, giving the impression that time is playing against them. Tensions remain high. Xin on her bone dragon disdainfully declares that she has no equal in the heavens. She doesn't believe anyone can challenge her. The giant bird, screaming furiously, tries to escape the onslaught of the bone beast, but it seems to be all over for her. Xiao Xinyu, hearing Xin's shout from above, looks up. Her skeletal dragon is soaring in the sky, emitting an aura of violet light, which enhances her defiant attitude. Xin tells Xiao Xinyu that there is less than half a minute of time left, and he has no more chances to defeat her. The girl's face reflects confidence, and Xiao, on his black wolf, prepares for the next move. Xiao Xinyu is surrounded by the echo of the word Lao Lu, repeating everywhere, which makes him annoyed. He wonders if his interlocutor knows any other words. The demonic beast with blazing eyes looks through the cracks of his armor. Its gaze expresses rage, readiness to attack, and pure strength. Xiao Xinyu's black wolf, Xin on his skeletal dragon, and the mysterious fire lion gather in a final clash. The fire lion lunges forward with wild force, unleashing a blow, while Xiao Xinyu remains focused. He wonders where such a powerful creature came from. Xiao Xinyu makes a swift maneuver on his wolf, preparing to attack. The fiery lion flies towards Xiao Xinyu with an angry roar, aiming to deliver a crushing blow. Its blazing energy scorches everything around it. Xiao Xinyu's gaze becomes sharp. Xiao Xinyu exclaims that the situation is unfavorable as his wolf starts falling down the cliff, trying to dodge the powerful attack. Xin says Xiao Xinyu's name anxiously after seeing him in a dangerous situation. Xiao Xinyu is on the edge of a cliff, desperately clinging to a branch while his wolf struggles to keep his balance. Xin rushes to his aid. Xin holds out her hand to Xiao Xinyu, urging him to take it. At this moment, a tense atmosphere surrounds them, heightened by the presence of the fire lion and the attacking skeletal dragon. Suddenly, Wang Hao appears from behind the trees, causing Xiao Xinyu to be surprised. Xiao didn't expect to encounter him again. Xiao Xinyu, still hanging on the branch, tenses up, trying to hold on and get out of the situation. Xin exclaims, concerned about Xiao Xinyu's situation. She is eager to help him as soon as possible. In the broadcast room, two men are discussing what is happening. The teacher insists on personally saving his students. The principal replies that he will not let anything happen to them. The principal decides to activate the automatic emergency process, confirming the seriousness of the situation. The man with glasses and a sly smile ponders how to use a little trick to get the boy to ask Wang Hao for help. The forest thicket is illuminated by the sun's rays breaking through the foliage. The atmosphere is calm, as if the world is frozen in anticipation. Xiao Xinyu comes to his senses, his gaze full of surprise. He whispers, not believing in his salvation, "Am I still alive?" Xiao recalls the moment when he clearly saw Wang Hao, not realizing what he was doing there. Xiao Xinyu irritably utters, "It's that Wang Zhao again. I definitely won't let him get away with it this time." Xiao Xinyu is surprised, turning around at He Feng's call. The wolf is wounded, but still managed to prevent something terrible from happening. He Feng lies exhausted, and Xiao Xinyu sadly realizes that the wolf protected him at the cost of his own health. "You used your body to protect me?" Xiao Xinyu takes out a potion that glows with a magical blue light and decides to save his faithful companion. He carefully gives the wounded wolf a drink of the healing potion, assuring him that the pain will soon pass. He Feng begins to recover. Starts to rain. Xiao Xinyu lifts his gaze to the sky. He is about to find shelter, carefully taking care of He Feng, who is still too weak to move. Using his strength, Xiao calls his faithful friend back. He discovers a cave and goes inside, escaping the pouring rain. Xiao Xinyu contemplates when the rain will end. His gaze is focused, thoughts of Xin making him anxious. His pondering is interrupted by a strange sound. Xiao Xinyu suspects that there might be someone else in the cave, which causes alarm. A creature with scarlet eyes and a threatening appearance appears in front of him. Xiao Xinyu finds himself in mortal danger, and the creature declares that it will not leave him alive now. Xiao Xinyu decides to use an evaluation skill. Before him, information about an entity, the nine-tailed fox, is revealed. This entity belongs to the magical beast system. Its level is Emperor of the first rank. Its blood is unique, based on the genes of the nine-tailed fox. Skills include superior mastery of fire magic and the ability to absorb the souls of enemies. The fox has the amazing characteristic of being able to evolve into a 10-tailed level being. Surprise overwhelms Xiao Xinyu as he realizes that he is not just an opponent, but a true nine-tailed magic fox, the embodiment of power and menace. Xiao Xinyu looks at his opponent with surprise and tension, realizing that the situation has become even more dangerous. The demon girl explains that she didn't expect him to be able to understand her true nature, but immediately adds that her powers are far superior to his. Despite realizing her weakness, Xiao Xinyu is adamant that he can't handle her, but he intends to fight to the end. The fox concludes that she can no longer let him live, raising the tension to the limit. Xiao Xinyu, seizing the moment, uses his secret weapon to deliver a surprise strike, causing a look of surprise on his opponent's face. His hand emits light like a symbol, awakening the enemy's fear of the unknown power. The flash of light temporarily blinds the demoness, leaving her defenseless for a moment. Meanwhile, she is still standing in front of Xiao Xinyu, shielding her eyes from the bright light. Red liquid started pouring out of her mouth very quickly. Xiao Xinyu kept saying that if he was able to find out that she was Ninetales, he would just as easily see such a small thing. This beast's condition was extremely critical. She was injured very badly because the dragon power had completely entered her body and affected so many parts of it. Even her heart veins were broken and damaged. Xiao Xinyu didn't understand where the pureblood dragon race came from because they had been wiped out about 300 years ago. But all he knew was that he was obligated to calm her down and save her life for the moment. But she didn't understand how a peer-to-peer beast tamer could save her and heal her from such a severe injury. Her wound was made by a purebred dragon, and that was why even the strongest Dr. Tamer would definitely not be able to heal her. This all seemed very much crazy to her, and she couldn't believe that he would actually be able to cure such a thing. Xiao Xinyu was confident that it wouldn't be a problem for him. He is really willing to help her, however. He was still scared that after he completed his task she would destroy him. He's clearly not ready to die so soon, so he comes up with his plan. In order for their deal to be valid and it will truly save his life, then they must make a real contract on the red liquid of their two. The events take us back to the very cave where Xiao Xinyu had previously hidden from the rain. She was extremely furious after hearing the proposal from Xiao Xinyu. This furious beast queen had no intention of accepting the proposal. After the guy announced the rules of his contract, she immediately guessed everything. She knew that he wouldn't just cure her. He would probably want to subjugate her, and then she would have to become his beast. From Xiao Xinyu's face, one could tell that he was definitely up to something. In this case, his cunning played a bad trick on him because she was not stupid at all and had guessed all of his plans. That's exactly what he wanted to do. Her reaction didn't make him shrug. After what she said, she was ready to destroy him at any second. Rage completely took over her entire body. Even though she had been injured by a pure-blood dragon earlier, she could easily bid farewell to Xiao Xingwu because her body was filled with more and more power with each passing moment. A powerful magical energy was emanating from her. A moment later, her hands were already on Xiao Xinyu's throat. She could easily destroy him for the moment, but if she really did that, her life would end as quickly as his. After saying that, she thought very hard. She didn't understand how she should act in this situation. Would she really have to submit to Xiao Xian? This was all very low for her. That was why she was so hesitant in this decision. But perhaps then he would save her life. Xiao Xinyu was already aware that the dragon power had practically penetrated her heart, and if she didn't agree to make a contract with him now, it might be too late. He decided to firmly put her in front of a choice. She didn't know what decision to make in this situation. She knew perfectly well that the time for her death had not yet come. It was too soon. She had some unfinished business, and the most important of them was her own sister's assignment. After a few seconds, her hand around the guy's neck began to loosen a little at a time. Even though she had left a fair amount of wounds on her, he still really wanted to help her. And once she had completely released the guy from her grip, she decided to give her verdict on her decision. After a moment, through gritted teeth, she announced that she was willing to accept his offer. And since they had to make a pact on their red liquid earlier, Xiao Xinyu bit through the skin on his finger in order to extract his red liquid from there. And after a few seconds, it began to ooze out from his small wound. He brought his finger to the center of her forehead, and then a bright star appeared above her. It was like a ritual, and now from this very moment, she would belong to Xiao Xingwu. This fox will now become his personal beast. And after that, she finally heard his name for the first time. After this ritual, she couldn't wait for Xiao Xinyu to cure her as soon as possible. She had only accepted his offer for this reason, which was why it had to happen as soon as possible. And since they were now bound, he was obligated to help her in this situation and keep his promise. After a few minutes, he started to undress. As soon as she saw it, she was in complete shock. She couldn't understand why Xiao Xinyu was taking off his clothes. As soon as he took off his clothes, he immediately picked up a dagger. Xiao Xinyu explained that he was only doing this to cure her of her pure-blood dragon wound. She couldn't settle down and ordered him to immediately put his clothes back on. After a few seconds, he pierced his chest with his dagger because he saw no other way to give her his red liquid. Xiao Xinyu made a small incision on his body and ordered her to immediately drink his red liquid that was oozing directly from his wound. She was very angry and embarrassed because she didn't understand why she had to do such a thing. She was never going to do such a thing, so she couldn't agree to such a suggestion. Xiao Xinyu knew that this was the only way that would help in this situation. His red liquid would be able to protect her heart from the power of a powerful pure-blood dragon for a while. When she heard that, she thought and realized that there was no other way now. And since she had made a pact with him, there was definitely no turning back. After a moment, she leaned over his body and moved closer to his wound. Then she began to lick a little of the red liquid that was oozing from his wound. And just a few seconds later, she felt something. She felt her body begin to fill with an unreal energy, and her heart was returning to its former strength. Xiao Xinyu's red liquid was able to completely fill her heart. Xiao Xinyu explained that for a while, his red liquid would help her. And after that, he still needed to know her name since he was now her master. After a few moments, she still decided to introduce herself. Her name was Dalu. She looked at him with understanding because at least he was able to save her life. And since he was her master from now on, she was very eager to know one thing. Dalu still had no idea how he had managed to do it. Dalu really wanted to know how Xiao Xinyu was able to know that her wound was made by a purebred dragon. Xiao Xingyi was well aware that Dai Lu was somehow related to the dragons that had disappeared. Such a coincidence had obviously not just appeared on his path. Therefore, perhaps she would be able to understand what was happening to him. So he decided not to hide anything from her and decided to tell the whole truth. About 2 months ago, as soon as the dragon red liquid entered his eyes, then they changed a lot after this incident. As soon as Shazinia starts to focus on something, a beast information panel appears in front of him. And it feels like it's some sort of system. And it was through this system panel that Xiao Xinyu found out about her injury. Dela looked at his eyes with surprise, and after a few seconds, she saw something unusual in them. As it turned out, his eyes were very similar to the legendary demon god's eyes. She had heard a little information about them earlier. Someone had said that they could actually see all the information about any beast. But that simply couldn't be true, as Xiao Xinyu was just an ordinary person. Looking at him closely, she tried to figure out who this guy really was. Xiao Xinyu looked at her with interest because she was hoping to hear some answer. Before answering him, she decided to think it over carefully. Since he was his master now, she simply had to inform him. If these are actually the eyes of a demonic god, then perhaps it's a good thing. After a few minutes, she still decided to reply and inform him that Xiaoxingmu was very lucky. Apparently, his eyes had changed under the influence of the dragon red liquid that had gotten inside them a few months ago, and after that influence, they had turned into the eyes of a demon god. As soon as Xiao Xinyu heard this, he was completely shocked. He absolutely couldn't believe what he heard because he had previously thought that it was just a system panel. Dalu had ordered him not to make up anything extra for himself. He wasn't some cartoon character. She thought he'd seen too many fantasy movies, and what he can see is simply a visualization of the abilities of the demon god's eyes. Xiao Xingyi was very surprised after what Daila said. There was at least no explanation for the fact that he had heard someone else's voice in his head earlier. After a few minutes, a memory of what had happened earlier appeared in his head. Some unknown voice had told him then to take the stone, and then the red liquid of his beast would change, thus allowing it to awaken. The first time it happened was after the shadow dragon attack. Back then, an unknown voice ordered him to take the crystal to awaken his beast's bloodline. Xiao Xinyu listened to the unknown voice for some reason, and in the entrance exam, he gave his beast that magic crystal. And so thanks to that crystal, after a few minutes, his beast evolved into a hellstorm wolf. Because of this, it had gained unreal strength. Xiao Xinyu was completely absorbed in his thoughts, and he had no idea when he would be able to hear that unknown voice again. Suddenly, while they were sitting in the cave, a beast with huge fangs approached them. While they were talking, they had no time to see it. A few minutes later, a huge fire lion aimed its attack right at the two of them. Dalu immediately grabbed Xiaoxian, trying to save him from the powerful beast's attack.
That very same fire lion had caught up with them near the cave. It was a rank 3 beast, and it was once again trying to attack Xiao Xinyu. As it turned out, it was the same beast that caused Xiao Xinyu to fall off the cliff. Xiao Xinyu and Dai Lu were completely shocked at what was happening. The guy obviously didn't expect that this lion would be able to catch up with him even in a quiet cave. The situation was very tense because a beast of this rank was quite strong and could easily destroy the guy. A few moments later, the fire lion was right beside them. Its body was blazing with unrealistically strong fire, and once it caught up with them, it was ready to easily destroy the two of them. The lion crushed everything in its path. Xiao Xinyu was very scared because he was definitely not ready to say goodbye to his life right now. But there was no plan in this situation, so they had to think of something and act. Their business was definitely not good. The lion had gotten very close to them, and Xiao Xinyu felt like they were in a hopeless situation. He stood silently and couldn't figure out what to do. As suddenly after a moment, the bright forces transformed into a lion attack. Someone started ruthlessly attacking him and defending the guy. Xiao Xinyi was completely shocked by what was happening. He clearly didn't expect Dalu to stand up for him. Even though she was injured, there was no way she would let anyone attack her and her master. That was why she unleashed her powers and directed them at the fire lion. The claws on the fire lion's paws were very large. With just one move it could easily destroy someone. He targeted Dalu because she had previously made him very angry with her attacks. Dalu's magical tail kept attacking the fire lion. She was very strong even though she had recently been injured by a purebred dragon. Dalu was a very fiery lady. That's why she was furious that someone dared to attack her, the Great Empress. And now she decided that it was time to not hold back and unleash all her power to attack the fire lion. After a few moments, she prepared herself and began to attack the fire lion with all her might. In literally a few strikes, Delu was able to burn and destroy this beast. She used her powerful skills and defeated it, thus being able to protect herself and Xiao Xinyu. But during the destruction process, something unusual happened, as if there was a real dragon's eye inside the lion. And it looked like they were finally safe. But suddenly after a few minutes, Xiao Xinyu reported that he didn't feel very well. And just a few seconds later, his eyes started to slowly close. Daila tried to call out to him, but all attempts were futile. Events began to happen inside Xiao Xinyu's mind. The dragon was very excited to finally see him again. It was the very real demon eye. Xiao Xinyu was very scared. He still couldn't understand who was talking to him. He was very scared because he didn't understand where he was, and he also didn't know the voice of the person who was shouting. The voice continued to speak to him, and this time it said that Xiao Xinyu had forgotten him. After all, he was the one who had helped Xiao Xinyu's beasts evolve. Because earlier, he had obtained a crystal from him that had awakened the beast's bloodline. And after a few moments, Xiao Xinyu actually remembered the sounding voice. Because he was the one who had actually given him that red crystal. But still, he never bothered to find out who it was. As it turned out, the red liquid of that dragon had awakened that voice. And in fact, the sounding voice itself had no idea who it was. This kind of thing made Xiao Xinyu wonder what was going on. But the most important thing that he knew was that he would easily be able to help Xiao Xinyu achieve the greatest greatness in this life. This made Xiao Xinyu laugh. He couldn't understand how a voice that didn't know his name would be able to help him in such a difficult challenge. But the voice said that Xiao Xinyu had seen some of his abilities before. After a few minutes, Xiao Xinyu guessed that the system panels were definitely his handiwork. This unknown person could see all the information about magical beasts. In order to summon him, Xiao Xinyu only needed to think of him. If he completely did everything he said, Xiao Xinyu would quickly reach the top. As it turned out, he couldn't appear earlier just because Xiao Xinyu didn't have enough strength. And when he made a contract with the two beasts, the time had come. Xiao Xinyu was now much stronger, and that was why he was able to establish a connection with him. But Xiao Xinyu never received any answers about his whereabouts. As it turned out to be his consciousness. While Xiao Xinyu fainted, he decided to meet him in his consciousness. Xiao Xinyu was shocked because he didn't expect such a turn of events. It seemed like it was time for someone to wake up. In the end, Xiao Xinyu really wanted to know when the next meeting would be. But as it turned out, this voice would always be with him. Moments later, the events were transported to a room in the hospital. Xiao Xinyu couldn't understand how he ended up in the hospital if he was in a cave not long ago. Suddenly, he was brought out of his thoughts by Teacher Chen and Principal Su. They were overjoyed when they saw that the boy had finally woken up. Xiao Xinyu apologized for worrying about him. The last thing the guy remembered was that he was in a cave near a cliff. And as it turned out later, the rescue team found him not far from it. Director Su said that literally 100 meters from the place of his rescue, they found the corpse of a fire lion. She inquired in order to find out what Xiao Xinyu knew about what had happened. This made him very confused. He actually knew perfectly well what the matter was about, but he decided to lie. He said that since he was unconscious, he definitely couldn't see what was happening, because a guy with 1 star would obviously not be able to defeat such a beast. Director Su couldn't understand what was wrong with her suspicions about the guy. Principal Su told him that the academy would thoroughly investigate and look into the situation. He smilingly agreed with her and was very happy that she believed everything he said. And on top of that, he and she and Action obtained an S+ level in the trial and accomplished setting a new record in the Azure Dragon Academy. The freshman ranking competition was coming soon, and so Xiao Shi and Zian needed to prepare for it in order to win. They gave Xiao Xinyu all the news he needed and hurriedly left his room. And just a few seconds later, something on his hand shone with a bright light. A moment later, his second beast Dailu appeared in front of him. He clearly hadn't expected to see her here and was worried that she would disappear somewhere after such an incident. Dalu informed him that after the attack he had received many wounds and that was why he had lost consciousness. And since he had donated his red liquid to save her, she couldn't mercilessly abandon him. She heard some unknown voices that saw the cave and wanted to check it out. As it became known, the rescue team arrived at the scene of the incident very timely. Dayla didn't want to be seen, and that's why she decided to hide. It was the only solution to the situation. Dayla heard everything he talked about with Director Su. In the cave, he informed her that it was an accident, but after these conversations, she was no longer sure of his story. After a few minutes, Xiao Xinyu informed her that he knew everything about this situation perfectly and it was definitely not an accident. Xiao Xinyu had seen Wang Yang's face in the bushes when he fell from the cliff, and he knew exactly who had caused such an accident. Because of this, Xiao Xinyu was very angry. He was going to take revenge on Wang Yan in any way he could, because he wasn't going to get away with it this time. Wang Yan must be punished for everything that was done to him. The events unfold in the office of the vice president of the Azure Dragon Academy, Wang. He is sitting quietly on the couch and sipping his coffee. Moments later, Wang Yong suddenly bursts into his office. He is the son of the vice president, and it seems he came to him with bad news. Wang Yong couldn't understand why things didn't happen the way they planned. Mr. Wang ordered his son to calm down immediately. Wang Yang was behaving completely inappropriately. All the boy could say was that it was very bad. What could have happened to make the guy panic so much? Wang Yang immediately shoved the phone in his father's face and showed him the current news. They said that not long ago, there would be an accident at the Yin Nanshan trial at the Azure Dragon Academy. One of the talented participants had tragically fallen off a cliff. But luckily it turned out to be a false alarm, and the rescue team found the guy yesterday. He was alive and well and received the necessary medical attention. Wang Yang was wildly furious. He couldn't believe that Xiao Xinyu was actually alive. As it turned out, the two of them had come up with a cunning plan to destroy Xiao Xinyu. Unfortunately for them, their plan didn't work and they couldn't do everything they had planned. Wang Yang was sure that after such an incident, Xiao Xinyu would take revenge on them. And on top of that, at this moment, Xiao Xinyu was currently under the protection of the Heavenly Guild. But Mr. Wang couldn't understand what this incident in this trial had to do with them. After all, they supposedly didn't do anything. Because even if Xiao Xinyu were to suspect them, then he had absolutely no evidence. Wang Yang was very worried about this situation and asked his father what they would do next. But Mr. Wang was completely calm and informed him that it would be more logical to do nothing at all. And action was their only option in this situation. And just a moment later, Mr. Yang changed his point of view. His face instantly turned insidious, and he decided that they would not stop until Xiao Xinyu was finally killed. In that instant, Wang threw a thing at his son and ordered him to finally do whatever it takes to eliminate Xiao Xinyu. A few minutes later, events take us to the family apartment. Xiao Xinyu is lying quietly resting on the bed. Suddenly, his phone rings. He obviously didn't expect anyone to bother him after such an incident, so the call has left him confused. And as soon as Xiao Xinyu picked up the phone call, there was a very joyful shriek on the other end of the handset. This guy was very happy that Xiao Xinyu was still alive. He was sure that a blessing had descended from the heavens themselves. It was unreal. Xiao Xinyu had returned safely and had also won first place in the Yinanshan competition. He informed Xiao Xinyu that he would definitely find the pest and destroy it with his own hands. Xiao Xinyu was completely shocked by this reaction of his. Did so many people suddenly start worrying about him? He was so happy about this because he hadn't felt this kind of thing in his life before. His sister had spent a good portion of her time by his hospital bedside, and the little girl was worried about him too. That phone call was loud enough. Xiao Xinyu was almost deafened by the screaming. The guy informed him that the freshman ranking competition had been postponed. And when Xiao Xinyu reached the top, he would be happy. He was confident that their friendship would last forever. After a moment, Xiao Xinyu asked for an explanation for the postponement of the bosom trial. Was it really done so that the guy could honestly recoup again? As it turned out, Xiao Xinyu's disappearance went viral in no time. The academy activated emergency protocols and launched a massive search for the guy. And as it turned out, most classes were postponed, and this list also included the freshman ranking competition. In fact, the freshman ranking competition is an annual grand event at the Azure Dragon Academy. Every single participant is eager to participate as soon as possible. As it turns out, the freshmen will be determined into groups, and the order of the competition will be determined by drawing lots. After the best 8 beast tamers are determined from among them, then they will have the main battle for the top 3 places in the academy. It would be a very intense and interesting battle that could determine the future of these freshmen. This guy also remembered to inform Xiao Xinyu not to be late for this event in any way. The guy thanked him and bid him farewell. Xiao Xinyu looked at his reflection and thought he definitely needed to get there. If he could get a ranking spot, he would have access to the academy's resources and attention. Unlocking the skills of a beastmaster would require the master himself to provide the right amount of spiritual energy. And as it turned out, the higher the level of the beastmaster, the more spiritual energy the beastmaster would need. This was the unexpected turn of events that awaited the guy. As it turned out, with the resources of the Azure Dragon Academy, Xiao Xinyu would be able to increase his spiritual energy resource much faster. Because in the last case, Dailu had squeezed out all of his energy to use the attack skill, and naturally he needs to avoid a repeat of this situation. In order to finally finish off the Wang family, he will only need to rely on Dailu's strength. Because she has an unrealistically powerful power, and maybe together they can achieve the desired result. And because Dailu is a really powerful beast, it consumes a huge amount of spiritual energy. As long as he doesn't have access to the Academy's resources, then Xiao Sanyu needs to figure out how to do it before the freshman competition starts. Closing his eyes, Xiao Sinyu thought that perhaps he should ask all the answers to the question specifically. As soon as he closed his eyes and thought about it, his body instantly transported him into his consciousness. This was exactly what he needed at this moment. Xiao Sinyu was actually a bit scared to do such things with his consciousness, but he had no other choice at the moment. A bright light meanwhile illuminated the guy. Suddenly, an unknown voice spoke to the guy again. Could it be that Xiao Sinyu had decided to take the shortest path to solve his problem? A huge dragon-eyed stared straight at him. Xiao Sanyu scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. He decided that if this voice was in his mind, why wouldn't he use such a solution? The voice decided to present its terms and make a deal with the guy. If Xiao Sanyu would help him recover his memories and recall, then he would in turn help him with his problem. Xiao Sanyu, hearing such a proposal, decided to immediately agree. He always keeps his word, and so they would help each other. The voice said that Xiao Sinyi would need to meditate deeply, and only then would he be able to penetrate his mind. It was actually a bit dangerous, but he would be able to talk to him nonetheless. The system panel displayed 3 buttons: Beast Data Research Area, Disease Analysis Area, and Store. He had conjured a similar system panel as in the guy's world, so he could use it without any difficulty. In the store, Shostin you can purchase all the items he needs. In order to ensure that Xiao Sinyu doesn't lose assignments or miss out on the most important task, the voice will give out assignments through the system panel from time to time. To earn points or other rewards, Xiao Sinyu will need to complete all tasks. In the store, Xiao Sinyu saw a dragon spirit pill and decided to click on it to find out as much information about it as possible. An option opened up in the store to find out all the information about it. As it turned out, this pill lightning fast increases a person's spiritual energy tenfold, but exactly 5 minutes later there would be a backlash, which in turn would cause a period of weakness. This pill is exactly what he needs, but he must use it with caution because the backlash will be very significant. The voice decided to give him this pill, but in the future, Xiao Xian will need to personally earn everything he needs. In order to summon the system in the future, Xiao Sinyu would need to quietly chant words such as, "The Beast Lord breaks through the void and the Holy Shield obeys him." The voice informed him that it was time for him to rest, and if something urgent happened, the guy would now know how to summon him. Xiao Sinyu did not cross him and informed him that he would leave him so that he could have a good rest. And there was hope in that voice. He hoped that Xiao Sinyu would definitely not disappoint him and would do everything he promised. The events once again shifted from the guy's mind to the family headquarters. Xiao Sinyu informed his sister that he was going to leave because it was time for him to go to the academy. The sis and the little girl were very worried about Xiao Sinyu. And before he left they asked him to be very careful and take care of himself. It was today that the freshman ranking competition would happen. Xiao Sinyu wondered if the old wolf cub was thinking about him. He actually missed his beast very much and he was sorry that things happened like this. A moment later, Xiao Sinyu saw what kind of announcement on the road. He couldn't understand what was going on. It said that the 9-tailed fox was wanted and a reward of 3 billion would be given. There was a gold core theft in Lan Royal City, and that's how the reward lies. A moment later, the phone call rang again on Xiao Sinyu's cell phone. This guy couldn't leave him alone. He was begging everyone to vote and put a like on his posting. He really wanted Xiao Sinyu to take the first place and beat all the contestants. He was intent on everyone supporting him. He asked for everyone to like, comment, and vote for the ranking challenge participants. Xiao Sinyu was in complete shock because he clearly didn't expect such a thing, and it seems that his ears might go deaf at any given time.